The story begins with a man swimming in the sea. While swimming, he spots an old chest. When he opens the chest, some items fall out. Among those items, a green mask appears. After this, we are introduced to Stanley. He works at a bank. He tells a female colleague of his that he has 2 tickets to a very big show. He asks if she would like to go with him, but the girl immediately replies that she has a friend who loves those kinds of shows. Saying this, she flirts a bit with Stanley and then, in the end, asks for both tickets. Poor, naive Stanley gives her both tickets and doesn't even go to see the show himself. As soon as the girl leaves, Stanley's friend approaches him. He says, "When will you ever learn, you idiot? Don't you understand that all these people just take advantage of you and walk away?" Just then, a stunningly beautiful girl named Tina enters the bank. Stanley and his friend are mesmerized the moment they see her. Tina places her bag on the table and immediately starts talking to Stanley. She says she wants to open a new account at the bank. However, the truth was that Tina's bag contained a hidden camera, recording every part of the bank. Actually, her boyfriend was planning to rob the bank, and Tina was helping him. This was the real reason Tina was there. But our innocent Stanley has no idea about this. Stanley finds Tina very beautiful. He tells his friend, "Wow, what a girl, absolutely amazing." But his friend tells him to forget her, saying, "There's a party tonight, you'll meet plenty of girls like her there." Then Stanley remembers that his car is broken. How will he get to the party tonight? When he goes to the garage, the mechanic says, "Look, it's going to take time. If you really need to go, you can take my car." The mechanic's car was incredibly awful, beyond measure. Out of compulsion, Stanley had to take that terrible car. When he arrives at the party location, the guards don't let him in. They tell him, "This place isn't for broke people like you. Come back when you have some cash in your pocket." Stanley feels extremely humiliated and leaves. On his way back, the lousy car breaks down near a bridge. He was already very upset, and this time, he is filled with intense anger. Furious, he gets out of the car and looks towards the water in the darkness of the night. For a moment, he thinks it might be a dead body in the water. Then Stanley thinks the person might be alive, and without thinking twice, he jumps into the water. When he dives in and reaches the spot, he realizes it's not a person. It's just a floating pile of trash. But right there, he finds the green mask that was shown at the beginning of the story. Stanley finds the mask very interesting. Its design is quite antique, so happily he brings the mask home with him. Stanley also has a dog. As soon as the dog sees the mask, it starts barking loudly. Stanley manages to calm his dog down and then stands in front of the mirror, thinking, "Let me just try it on, see how I look." The moment he puts on the mask, it sticks to his face. He tries hard, but the mask won't come off. It feels as if it has completely merged with his face. Stanley's face turns completely green. His behavior changes completely too. It looks like it's not Stanley standing there, but someone else entirely. He dances in a strange manner, and his agility increases dramatically. As soon as he steps out of his flat, a woman outside sees him and gets very scared. That woman also had a green face pack on her face, but Stanley now looks like a complete cartoon. Scared of Stanley, the woman pulls out a gun. To escape, Stanley jumps straight out the window from some unknown floor, and when he hits the ground, he bounces like a crazy ball. Now on the road below, he suddenly steps in front of a car. The driver honks loudly. Stanley says, "Oh, so only you can honk?" He pulls a tiny horn out of his pocket, but as soon as he presses it, that small package turns out to be a big explosion. Such a loud noise erupts that all the car's windows shatter. The poor driver's hair stands on end. Then Stanley goes to the same mechanic who was fixing his car. It was because of that mechanic's rickety car that Stanley had been so humiliated. So in his anger, he trashes everything there and then returns home and goes to sleep as if nothing happened. He was exhausted after all the bizarre antics. The next day when Stanley wakes up, His face is back to normal. He doesn't know how he removed the mask. When he looks at himself in the mirror, he recalls fragments of the night. He thinks that maybe it was all just a dream. Just then, someone knocks on his flat's door. It's a policeman. He asks if Stanley remembers anything about last night. The woman who was scared of Stanley was also there. She was the one who called the police saying, "A man with a green mask was roaming here last night. He was very scary." Stanley understands internally that they are talking about him, but he says, "Sir, I don't know anything. I was sleeping soundly." Hearing this, the police officer leaves. Stanley picks up the mask and says, "This thing is making me do weird things. I don't feel right about this mask." Saying this, he throws the mask out the window and then leaves the room himself. However, the mask comes back into the room on its own. Then Stanley goes to his office and the bank manager scolds him severely. "Why are you late? Is this your father's bank?" Stanley tries to explain. "Sir, I wasn't feeling well. I couldn't sleep properly last night," but the manager doesn't listen to a word and continues to berate him even more. Upon reaching home, Stanley is also very sad and completely silent. Suddenly, his eye falls on a newspaper. It has a photo of Tina, who is a singer, and she is scheduled to give a live performance at the same exclusive club from which he was rudely thrown out. Stanley decides that he will go to that club no matter what, but the problem is that only the rich are allowed entry. The entry pass is so expensive that he can't afford it. Just then, his eyes fall on the green mask again. The mask is still lying on his sofa. He is very surprised, thinking, "I threw this out." But then Stanley thinks that maybe this mask has come into his life to help him. So he thinks, "Let's try it one more time." And he puts the mask on again. As soon as he wears the mask, his face turns green again. He then, as if by magic, changes his clothes and immediately goes to the same bank where he works to loot it, so he can use the money to gain entry to the club. Stanley immediately reaches the bank, but Tina's associates are also there. Actually, their plan was to rob the bank today. They were standing outside the bank, contemplating how to steal, when Stanley smashes through the bank window and jumps out, starting to scold everyone standing outside. "Is this how you're going to rob a bank? I'm coming to loot it right after you." Saying this, he flees with the speed of lightning. He runs so fast that no one can even see him. Soon the police arrive and, mistaking the men in black clothes for the robbers, start shooting at them. The gang members also fire back and seize the opportunity to escape. Meanwhile, Stanley arrives outside the club in a very long limousine. He gives the bouncer a pile of money and goes inside. Inside the bar, Tina is performing, singing a song. Stanley goes up to her and starts dancing with her, thoroughly enjoying himself. Tina also enjoys his incredibly fast and explosive moves. Just then, Tina's friends who had planned the bank robbery also arrive. The gang members inform their leader that the man dancing with Tina is the one who robbed the bank. At the leader's command, everyone starts shooting at Stanley, but because Stanley is faster than lightning, none of the bullets reach him. Soon the police also arrive at the club. The police tell Tina's associate, "First we saw you outside the bank, and now you're shooting openly in a bar. Do you know how big a crime it is to endanger public life?" The police arrest everyone and say that if it's proven that they didn't rob the bank, they will be released later. Tina's friend, Dorian, who is the gang leader, says, "Proof will only come when that green-faced man is found, because he is the real thief." Then the police officer notices a piece of Stanley's tie. He remembers seeing a similar tie on the man in the flat. Now the police officer thinks Stanley might have committed the bank robbery. Since he works at the bank, it would have been easy for him to steal. Also, he couldn't have afforded to be here on his salary, as only rich people frequented this club. The police officer immediately goes to Stanley's house. He asks Stanley, "Is this your tie? Tell me, how did you go to that club? You are just a mere bank employee." Stanley lies and says, "I didn't go to the bar. I was looking for my tie too. Thank you, you found it. It was stolen." The next day, when Stanley goes to the bank, the boss gets angry at him again. This time, Stanley angrily snaps, "If you yell at me again, I'll beat you up." Just then, Tina comes into the bank to meet Stanley. She asks Stanley, "You meet so many new people every day. Do you know a man with a green face?" She thought he was a man who had painted his face. Stanley doesn't tell her the truth. He says, "Yes, I know him. If you want, I can even introduce you tonight." Tina is happy, and they fix a time and place to meet. Stanley goes home and thinks, "I need to find out something about this mask." So he takes it to a mask expert. This man knows almost everything about different masks from around the world. The man tells him about a god named Loki, who was very mischievous and playful. He had a mask with powers similar to what Stanley described. Stanley says, "Yes, perhaps this is that mask. Whenever I wear it, I am no longer myself. I change completely. I start acting strangely, doing all sorts of things." To prove his point, Stanley wears the mask right in front of the man, but nothing happens. The expert then says, "Don't waste my time. Get out of here." Then Stanley realizes that maybe the mask only works at night or when he is alone. Now it's nighttime and he has to go meet Tina. Stanley soon puts on the mask and arrives at the designated place, but then the police arrive. They had been keeping an eye on Stanley. The police surround both Tina and Stanley. Tina, out of fear, runs away. Stanley pretends to freeze in place, but in his masked state of merriment, he forgets that the police can still see him. The police surround him from all sides. Stanley then screams in a strange voice. Hearing his scream, everyone's minds are stunned, and by the magic of that charismatic mask, everyone comes under his spell. 2 seconds later, the police officers are dancing with him. Now, seizing the opportunity, Stanley runs to the other side of the alley and takes off the mask. Now he is the normal Stanley again. Just then, a girl in a car arrives. She is Stanley's friend, a reporter by profession. Seeing Stanley a bit scared, she pulls over and drives him away. She says, "I will tell your story to the world. Tell me what happened." Stanley, the poor, honest man, tells the girl everything truthfully. "I have a mask. Whenever I wear it, I change completely. Now even the police are looking for me." But here, a dangerous twist enters the story. Stanley doesn't know that the reporter girl is also deceiving him. In fact, the girl is working with Dorian's gang. Dorian had paid the reporter to bring Stanley to him. He had promised her a big reward in return. After this, the gangsters capture Stanley and torture him severely. They hang the poor man upside down. Soon Dorian arrives and starts interrogating Stanley. "Tell me, how does this mask work? If you don't tell me, you'll die." Stanley says, "Brother, you could have asked nicely. I would have told you anyway. Just let me go. Just wear this mask and you'll understand everything yourself." As soon as Dorian puts on the mask, his face also turns completely green. Now he looks like a dangerous villain. A strange power comes over him. He now decides that he will not give this mask to anyone else under any circumstances. He is also afraid that if the police see him wearing the green mask, they will think he is the bank robber. He plans to have a duplicate mask put in Stanley's pocket and have him arrested. He sends his goons to Stanley's house to retrieve the money Stanley stole from the bank. But Stanley's dog, Milo, is watching them secretly. The dog sees that his master is tied up inside a car, with tape over his mouth. When the thieves leave with the money, Stanley's dog Milo quietly begins to follow them. Meanwhile, Dorian had a fake mask made. As per the plan, he puts that mask in Stanley's pocket. The plan was for the police to think that Stanley was the real green-masked man. His men lift Stanley and throw him right in front of the police. The police find the mask in his pocket and without a second thought send him to jail. When Tina finds out about this, she goes to jail to meet Stanley. This time, Stanley tells her the absolute truth. "I am the green-faced man who was dancing with you so happily that day. But I don't have the mask now. Your friend stole the real mask. He is a very dangerous man. You have to stop him. Stanley explains that as far as he can tell, the mask's effect depends on the wearer's mind. I am a naive, sweet man, so I do funny and strange things. But Dorian is a very bad person. Now, he won't just rob the bank. He'll loot the whole city. He'll destroy everything. Tina says, "How can I stop him alone? I'm leaving the city anyway." Stanley's words make her realize how terrible Dorian is, and she decides never to see him again. After this, she leaves the jail, but Dorian becomes suspicious of her. He sends his men after Tina. On the other side, Stanley's dog Milo follows the goons and reaches the jail. The guard is asleep, so Milo takes the keys from his pocket and quietly frees Stanley from the lockup. Just then, a police officer arrives, but Stanley points a gun at him and, seizing the opportunity, escapes from jail. Meanwhile, Dorian has kidnapped Tina. After wearing the mask, he has become much more dangerous. His face looks even greener, more terrifying, and more bizarre than Stanley's. He then goes to a bar full of gangsters, where the city's biggest gangsters are present. He declares, "From today, I am your leader. If anyone has a problem, step forward." His behavior is not liked by the gangsters. They start firing continuously at Dorian. But with the power of the mask, Dorian absorbs all the bullets and then starts shooting those same bullets out of his mouth. With this, he eliminates all the attackers. After this, he ties up Tina. He attaches a time bomb to her and says, "Try to run away now. You were cheating on me, weren't you?" Just then, Stanley also arrives there. Tina, acting completely innocent, tells Dorian, "I admit I made a mistake, but can I kiss your real face one last time before I die? Please? Who can refuse such a plea?" Poor Dorian is swayed and takes off the mask. But this was all a ploy by Tina. When she gets the chance, Tina kicks the mask hard. The mask flies into the air, and Milo catches it. Now, Stanley's dog Milo has worn the mask, after which he becomes very formidable. He starts biting and tearing up Dorian's men, ripping their shirts. He completely messes them up. Then Stanley picks up Milo and says, "Champion, now it's my turn." After much effort, Stanley manages to separate the mask from his dog. He is about to put on the mask when Dorian's men arrive and shoot at Stanley. A bullet hits the mask and it falls far away. Stanley immediately runs there and puts on the mask. Now Stanley is bulletproof. He has no worries. He drinks a glass of juice, but wherever the bullets hit him, the juice starts leaking out. Everyone is shocked to see this. Then Stanley calmly goes to Tina. He takes the bomb off her body and eats it. As soon as the bomb's timer hits 0, it explodes inside his stomach. But the mask is so powerful that Stanley is unharmed. Just then, Dorian comes to kill Stanley, but Stanley throws him into the water and creates a toilet handle on a nearby tree. The word "flush" is written above the handle. As soon as Stanley turns the handle, Dorian is flushed right into the water. And now that Dorian is washed away, the whole city is saved from his tyranny. Stanley has also saved Tina. Just then, the police arrive and they are about to arrest Stanley. Then a man who was already present there says, "I am the mayor." "Why are you arresting this man? He saved everyone. The real gangster was someone else. He's gone into the water, who knows where." The police officer sees Milo, the dog, running off with the green mask and says, "Look, that dog is taking the mask somewhere." The mayor angrily says, "Don't worry about the dog. Find that gangster. Understood?" At the mayor's command, the police release Stanley and start trying to catch Dorian's gang members. The next morning, Stanley, Tina, and Milo come to the bridge where Stanley found the mask. Standing by the sea, Stanley says, "This mask gave me a lot. But what I want now, this mask cannot give me." He confesses his love to Tina and says, "I thought you only loved the masked version of me, not the real Stanley." Tina smiles and says, "I like you just the way you are." She takes the mask from Stanley and throws it into the sea. Well, our hero found his love. Everything turned out great.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.